Sure. Here's the English translation of the Urdu hook. I never thought a simple sleepover would turn into a night that I still can't understand and maybe never want to. That old house, the cold breeze, and those silent whispers. When shadows move, footsteps echo all around you. Are you really alone? These aren't just stories, they're fears you can't see, but you can definitely hear. It all started like any other weekend. I was 13, and my best friend Lily invited me over to her house for a sleepover. Her parents were out of town, so it was just the two of us in this old, creaky house on the edge of our small town. You know, the kind of place where the wind whistles through the cracks in the windows, and shadows seem to stretch longer than they should. We spent the evening watching movies, laughing, and sneaking snacks in the dim light of the living room. Around midnight, we decided to set up our sleeping bags in the attic, a dusty space filled with old trunks, forgotten toys, and spider webs sparkling like tiny chandeliers. It felt like the perfect spot for a spooky night. The temperature dropped suddenly when we climbed the narrow stairs. The air smelled like mildew and old wood. I wrapped my arms around myself and pulled the blanket tighter. Lily joked about ghosts, but I didn't laugh. The attic was cold and silent except for the creaks of the house settling. After a while, Lily pointed out a small crack in the wooden floorboards near the window. She said she sometimes heard noises coming from downstairs, like whispers or footsteps in the empty rooms below. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just the house playing tricks on us. But then the noises started. At first, it was a faint tapping, slow, deliberate, coming from the ceiling below. The kind of sound that makes your skin crawl. We paused, holding our breath. It stopped. Then came a soft scratching, like nails lightly dragging across the floor. We told each other it was probably the wind or a raccoon outside, but neither of us moved. Suddenly, a cold draft swept past us, blowing out the small candle we had lit for light. The attic plunged into darkness except for the pale moonlight shining through the window. That's when we heard whispering. Not clear words, just a breathy hiss, so close it felt like it was right behind us. Lily froze. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Then came footsteps, slow, heavy, pacing in a circle around the attic. The sound passed near the trunks, and for a terrifying moment, I thought I saw a shadow flicker out of the corner of my eye. We scrambled to grab the flashlight, but when I clicked it on, the beam caught nothing but dust particles dancing in the cold air. Our panic grew. We called out for Lily's parents, but the house was too quiet to carry our voices. And then, from the crack in the floorboards, a faint, desperate knocking answered back. We didn't sleep that night. The second story is from a girl named Emily, who had a sleepover at her cousin's place in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Emily remembers the night being eerily still. No cars passed by, no dogs barked, just silence. They set up their sleeping bags in the basement, a dimly lit room with concrete walls and a single flickering bulb. Around 2 a.m., Emily woke to a faint tapping on the basement window, slow and rhythmic, like someone trying to get in. She nudged her cousin awake. Neither dared to move toward the window. Then a soft voice called out her name. It wasn't a whisper. It was loud enough to send chills down their spines. They told their parents the next morning, but no one else heard anything. The neighborhood cameras showed nothing unusual, only static during that time. The basement window was locked tight. The last story comes from Marcus, who was invited to a sleepover in a remote cabin surrounded by thick woods. They set up a tent outside to feel closer to nature. Around midnight, Marcus heard breathing, heavy and labored, coming from just outside the tent. He convinced himself it was an animal, but then the zipper on the tent slowly started to move. He grabbed his flashlight and shone it outside, but saw only darkness. The next morning, they found footprints circling the tent. Not human, but too large to be a deer or a bear. The feeling of being watched stayed with Marcus long after the sleepover ended.